Welcome to Hartman Math. This is lesson 1-3 on the graphs of linear functions. We begin with a y equals mx plus b model. So we're talking about slope-intercept form, graphing from slope-intercept form. And when we say slope-intercept, the intercept, which is the b part, refers to the y-intercept, to the point where we are crossing the y-axis. So in this problem here, y equals 2x plus 4. The positive 4 is going to go on the y-axis, and that is our first point. And then from there, the slope is 2, and it might be an idea, we may want to turn that into a fraction. Any whole number or integer can be made into a fraction by putting it over 1. So when we say the slope is 2, that's 2 over 1, and we can think in terms of rise over run. So from here, since it's positive, we're going to go up 2, and then in this style, we always go to the right. So the run is to the right. So up 2, right 1, to establish from the original point our second point. And then 2 points determines the line, so we would take out a ruler, an ID card, something like that, and make sure that we draw a straight line through those points. It has arrows to signify that it's going to continue in both directions. When you approach this on a Desmos, it may reverse this. It may say y equals 4 plus 2x. You can reverse it back and say the number in front of the x is my slope. The other number is the y-intercept. So those are the same equation. All right, our next one, just y equals 2x. That's it. So this is also slope-intercept form. Here's the number in front of the x being the m. That's our slope of 2. And then this number, well, it's missing, but that is our y-intercept. So in order for this to be missing, it has to be adding 0. So 2x is the same thing as 2x plus 0, in which case we would have a point right on the origin at 0 on the y-axis. And then once again, a slope of 2 means the same thing, up 2, right 1, and draw the line. So what do you notice about these two lines? Well, they're parallel. They're going to extend forever. They will not ever touch. Even though we don't see them touching here, we kind of know that they're not going to touch at all. They're like train tracks kind of running where they're just going to stay parallel to each other. So what about the equations is the similarity that's going to say those are parallel lines? It's the slope. This had a slope of 2, this had a slope of 2. So any two lines that have the same slope but a different y-intercept are going to be parallel lines. Here's another one. Y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. So once again, we grab the b part, the y-intercept. We're going to start there. There's our first point on the y-axis. Remember, that has to be on the y-axis as it's a y-intercept. And then our slope is we're going to go down 1, right 2, rise over run. Down 1, we always go to the right, right 2. Down 1, right 2. And draw the line. Now, is there any relationship with that line to the other lines? Any special relationship? Well, in fact, they do intersect. Clearly, this one here, and they do intersect at right angles, meaning these two lines, they are perpendicular. Perpendicular lines are any lines that intersect at and form right angles. And what makes them perpendicular in terms of the equation, again, goes back to the slope, whether we're comparing slope here and here, is the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Positive slope, negative slope. Remember, 2 is 2 over 1. This is 1 over 2. Flipped means reciprocal. So 1 positive, 1 negative, reciprocals of each other. Opposite reciprocal slopes lead to perpendicular lines. example number 2. This time we're going to graph from point slope form. Our y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Or we have seen previously, maybe it says f of x here. That's the same idea. So y minus 3 is equal to, so we can see how this matches the form here. And so we're going to start with that point. It's a little bit tricky to establish, but this is something that's going to kind of be a continuing theme through this class. First of all, the slope, that one's pretty easy. Slope is just the number in front of the x that's being multiplied, whether there's parentheses or not. So that's the 2/5. Now, our point, probably the easier one to recognize, is going to be the y-coordinate here. Notice it says y minus y1, the number y minus what number? 3. So 3 is going to go there. The harder one is the x, as our form is x minus the number. So x minus, well, it's not 4, because x minus 4, this would be a minus sign. So I'm wondering, if we wrote it x minus, what number is going to turn into making this a positive 4? And we know that subtracting a negative turns into a plus sign, so it's actually going to be negative 4 right there. X plus 4 is the same thing as x minus negative 4. So really, one of our strategies is going to be that when we're looking inside the parentheses here, we're looking for x1, later we might say it's an h or a k or something like that. Inside the parentheses, strategies, think opposite. So it's going to be negative 4 here, positive 3 here, y minus positive 3, and there's our point. So we can go ahead and plot our point. Left 4, up 3 is our point, just a generic point. And now from there we can use the slope. It's positive, so up 2 and then right 5. Plot the point. Once we have 2 points determine the line, so we can draw the line, use a ruler, arrows at both ends, and there's our graph. And here's example number 3. F of x plus 2 is equal to negative 3x, and it actually is in this point slope form. We've just replaced the y with f of x. And there are no parentheses over here, but that's okay as well. So again, slope in front of the x, that one's pretty easy, going to be a negative 3. And as far as the point goes, the x-coordinate right here, this x is the same thing, no parentheses here, but same thing as x minus, well, there's nothing there, so that has to be 0. And then over here, there's our y minus y1. Again, here, even though there's no parentheses, think opposite. Same thing we were looking at the last one. This is minus. In order to get the plus sign, it has to be a negative. Minus a negative. So that's going to be negative 2. So 0 comma negative 2 actually turns out to be on the y-axis. Slope of negative 3. Remember, we could turn that into a fraction by putting a 1 underneath. So down 3, right 1. Anytime it's not a fraction, we're going to go right 1. Establish the point. Draw your line. That's it for today. See you next time.